10 months ago, the SMS Iceberg video was published. As it's getting a lot of traction, we thought it'd be a good idea to go over what we missed and stuff we learned after the video came out, as well as correcting some of the things we got wrong. On August 13th, the day after the video went up, Mark Stein reacted to the video on the Discord call in the SMS Shadow server and gave some developer commentary.
We also want to cover all the glitches we've discovered so far, but we'll save that for after we've discussed the main part of this video. We will also allow ourselves to break the games completely by doing things such as increasing the jump height in certain maps. And if you think that shouldn't count for this kind of video, well, fuck you, it's my channel, I can do what I want. Hey, I'll get to the point as soon as possible, but first a quick foreword. To preface this video, I have to admit that the thumbnail is a little over-exaggerated, since most of the glitches here are actually pretty minor, it's mostly just clipping through the map. But I wanted to try out a thumbnail in the style of those of Oh Yes, and an informational video like this seemed like the perfect opportunity to do so. Also, I want to quickly give a huge thank you to Nico Bellic for managing to get Sanatorium 1.1 and 1.2 to work above Windows 7. Anyway, let's get to the video.
To quickly recap, Slenderman Shadow was created by Mark Stein and Ray Burgess in 2012 on the game engine FPS Creator, more commonly known as FPSC. Mark made the series because Let's Plays of Slender 8 pages would become boring relatively quickly, so he brought the same concept into several different locations.
The reason that I developed the games was, Slender came out, and I don't know about you guys, but that was the first game, and this was on the back of Amnesia coming out. I really wanted to play it together in the same room with my friends, so I took it to, we were watching a movie together, I took the game with me, and we had such a good time. And I'd worked with FPS Creator, I wanted to build, the next thing, because I loved Let's Plays as well. PewDiePie was getting big at the time, Markiplier, Yami Mash. But they were playing Slender, but they could only play it 3 or 4 times, You can only do the same thing so many times, and I noticed they stopped making videos because, how many times can you do the same map? So I thought, you know what? There's a good opportunity here to make some really good content. So that's where Sanatorium came from.
FPS Creator is a pretty limited game engine and was only intended for first-person shooters, so some compromises had to be made, for example, a flashlight. The only dynamic light support FPSC had was a muzzle flash, so in order to produce the flashlight effect, the muzzle flash was coded to be permanently active and follow the player until it turned the flashlight off.
Yeah, I've got such a love-hate relationship with FPS Creator. Like, that game made you be sort of inventive with how you implemented things because it's so limited.
Yeah, see, like the flashlight, that's a gun.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. That type of thing. The only dynamic light support in FPS Creator was the muzzle flash. So the flashlight effectively was just shooting a gun the whole time, but the muzzle flash is so quick it never switches off.
If you mess with the camera, you can actually see those muzzle flashes as you move around.
In the original Iceberg video, we stated that the 9 teddy bear in Elementary appeared due to a bug, which doesn't really make sense. What's more likely is that Ray either added it by mistake because he forgot about a teddy bear already put down, or he wanted to make it possible for the player to take a few more different routes. More on the 9 teddy bear later.
There shouldn't be 9 teddy bears!
A thing in Mansion, which will be mentioned later.
Oh, you cut the best bit when he gets caught.
There shouldn't be 9 teddy bears! There shouldn't be 9 teddy bears! What the Oh! Ah!
I've put these two into the same chapter because in theory they would mean the same thing, but for the sake of this video, what we missed is whatever we didn't cover in the first video despite knowing about it, and what's new is something we found out after the video had been completed.
This was originally going to be covered in the glitches section, but now we actually have a possible explanation as to why this happens. Slender's aggression level is controlled by, well, an aggression variable, and that variable doesn't get reset upon completing a map, which caused the variable to go past the limit, thus disabling Slender.
This is where we start showing the game no mercy. I was able to find a script to adjust the jump height and used this to explore all the maps I could, and I found this platform where Slender spawns.
Save. Saved as the platform. There he is. This is the closest we ever get a Sanatorium Slender.
He can't harm the player until the first page has been picked up, however.
Remember when we talked about the blinds on the bathroom window in Taste Gaming's Sanatorium video? Well, it turns out those blinds are in the Unity version too. Why these blinds are absent in all the other versions is still unknown. PewDiePie minigame level was its own separate map outside the Sanatorium version 1.1 folder, so because the map didn't exist, the game couldn't send you to the minigame and would instead think you won, thus sending you to the game complete screen.
It launches you to here, but there's a problem there.
What that problem is unknown, however.
I can tell you what that
Slenderman's
problem is
Shadow
if you
was
pause
originally
it.
gonna be released-
What was it? I was wondering.
So I'm pretty sure this is the issue. That PewDiePie minigame was a separate level. So it had its own map, it had its own scripts, it had its own enemies, etc. So when I took it out of version 1.1, when you type the code, it tries to load that level, but it doesn't exist. So it would just think that you'd finished the game, right? So then it puts you to the game complete menu.
When asked about the mysterious box outside the school in elementary, Mark states that it was probably just something Ray put in for scenery. It's also very unlikely that this is Slender's spawn point since, as far as Mark can remember, that was placed in the outside area.
He also states that he's 99% sure it isn't inside that box. Using a script they recently found, Natalie was able to adjust the jump height, and sadly, you can't get into the box, as the ceiling blocks any sort of entrance.
Alright, time to figure out what's in the box. Imagine you see game complete.
I keep
Yeah.
dying in this.
In hindsight, this is something we probably should have already covered in the first video. In Elementary version 1.0, the 9th teddy bear spawned in the first room in the long hallway after exiting the room with the teddy bear by the nest near the spawn. In the version 1.1, the bear was moved to the dead end, most likely to prevent the player from being permanently trapped in school.
Before we cover these next two, I want to shout out Gavinator, who commented about these on the Iceberg video. Thank you so much for letting me know. In Elementary, you can hear a constant heartbeat throughout the game until you get caught. The closer the player is to Slender, the quicker the heartbeat gets. It can be difficult to hear, so the page sounds have been removed to make it easier. I'm honestly surprised I never noticed this.
If you glitch out of the map in Mention, more on that later, and go where the spawn area is, you will see a mysterious box. Similar to in Elementary, Mark confirmed that this was the room to test glow sticks. This possibly explains the box in Elementary, which leads to the idea that glow sticks were originally going to be featured in the map, but were pulled before release.
By removing the start.fpi script, we can now jump, crouch, as well as peek left and right. This allows us to parkour onto the roof of the top floor, where we can drop down into this box which reveals 8 glow sticks lying on the floor before displaying the game complete screen. The 7th Street map is ever so slightly tilted. I personally never noticed this, but some folks from the server did, so I thought I'd include it anyway. When asked on Tumblr, Ray says this could be a result of some of the assets being improperly exported.
Throughout the FPC maps, going outside of the map can lead to a weird area of the map that causes the game complete screen to appear. This is the box in Mansion that we just covered, and thus will be mentioned here. Here's everything we were able to find.
Jumping out of the map from any room where the sky is visible and the metal grid isn't blocking the way, and walking over to the area behind the troll wall reveals a lone platform. Jumping onto it will show the game complete screen. Oh.
I'm not sure if you noticed, but tab enables an FPS counter.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's make sure. Alright, now I'm on the edge of the map. I gotta be careful now.
Yep, game
I
complete.
see one key.
It says game complete. When you
Game complete.
When you go on that thing I mentioned. And it also fades out, weirdly enough.
Jumping out of the map at the corner with the most empty space and being really careful to not overshoot and fall off the map will reveal one tile of grass just behind the wall. Jumping onto it will, of course, show the game complete screen.
I got it to work.
If you climb up the exit ladder, which is possible, but I tried, failed, and gave up, so... And then slowly walk on top of the wall down to the nearest ceiling and go over to the spawn area, Good luck trying to find that just based on the ceiling. You can yet again fall onto a lone floor tile, displaying the game complete screen.
This is a full list of all the glitches we have discovered so far. We mentioned a few of them in the first video, but they'll be mentioned here too for the sake of completeness. After collecting a page, saving the game and loading it again will reset the page counter, making it impossible to win, as the collected pages will remain absent.
Slender can rarely be seen floating above the map, much like in Mansion. Going beneath him still gets you killed, seemingly because of how Slender's kill distance works in FPS-C. I actually discovered this before this video was even in production when I tried importing Slender's prison behavior into the alpha build.
Occasionally, the models will Slender and the pages will turn transparent. The reason for this is unknown, but it seemingly has something to do with the player's sanity level.
Oh yikes, what the shit?
Just like in Sanatorium Alpha, Slender can be seen flying across the map. I don't have original footage of this either, so here's some folks on the SMS server reacting to it.
What the fuck? What the fuck? This?
I actually found this while recording the B-roll footage for this video when I suddenly got curious. In the computer room, if you go between the table and the chair that's fallen over, you will glitch out of the map.
If you go in the gap between these two tables in the cafeteria, you can glitch out of the map. If you go in this corner of the open toilet stall, you can also glitch out of the map. Slender can sometimes be seen facing away from the player. This could be caused by the script telling Slender to always face the player bugging out. This can also happen in Hospice and Elementary. If you go between this pipe and the electric box, you can glitch through the wall, essentially soft locking yourself.
If you go between this boiler and electric box, you can glitch out of the map. This was by far the clip I had the hardest time reproducing. Thank you so much, Daddy, for finding this out. If you go between the wall and this chair, you can glitch out the map. I recently discovered this by deliberately trying to glitch out in other maps. Using the debug feature to exceed 12 mementos will render the game impossible to beat. You can't press Y or N on the game over screen, meaning your only way out is pressing escape or Alt F4. Slender can occasionally be seen flying in some parts of the map, such as the spawn area and the stairs to the basement. This is due to how Slender's follow the player to a different floor script works.
If you walk into this pod plant, you'll glitch through the floor, either glitching down to the main floor or completely out of the map.
I guess this one's technically not a glitch, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless. Remember when we covered Mushroom Trip mode in the last video? Well, you can't activate that mode on the Game Over screen, meaning you have to actually beat the map every time you want to try it.
As of writing the script, we have not been able to find any glitches in 7th Street yet. This is probably mainly due to the map being an open area, meaning it's harder to clip through the floor, which obviously limits the possibilities of finding glitches a little. If you sprint into any sink at just the right angle, you'll get stuck. You can break free, but it might result in random invisible walls blocking your path occasionally.
If you go between the bed and the sink in this cell, you'll glitch through the floor, forcing you to close and reopen the game. Collecting a photo before the Collect All 8 Photos prompt disappears will cause it to stay on screen until the player restarts the game. This can't happen by normal means in any other map, since you're nowhere near close enough to an item to collect it before the prompt disappears. Glow sticks will occasionally clip through the floor, which in my personal opinion renders them even more useless than they already are.